Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the studios at Grafton TV at 26 Providence Road. I have a guest in studio. His name is William Blake. He's the new Management Analyst and Communications Director for the town of Grafton. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, you asked me earlier, I should say you asked me a few days ago, how much homework you needed to do for this conversation, and I reminded you, like I do everyone else in town, this is not 60 minutes. So, easy softball questions.
Okay, fantastic.
The get to know you moment, or the get to know you segment. So, so some of the things that I remember through casual conversation, talking to you in the hallway or via email, is that you're commuting from Yarmouth.
No, I'm originally from Yarmouth.
Oh, okay.
I'm commuting from Quincy.
Ah.
Yeah, so I grew up on the Cape, went to high school down there, all that stuff, and
Okay.
live in Quincy now.
Okay, the city of my birth.
Oh, fantastic.
So
I knew something good came
We
out of that.
we have something in common. Okay, so how bad's the commute from Quincy?
It's actually not bad. With when I leave, it's going against traffic.
Okay.
So, you know, I shoot out here in about 45 minutes. If you're going home, I shoot home in about 45 minutes and see people sitting in traffic on the other
Right.
side both ways.
Right. That's not bad. Not bad at all. So, have you had any expectations of the job met, or have you had any expectations that just fell off the edge of the table? What's it been like?
I have not had any expectations that fell off the table. Judging by the interview process and the job description and all that stuff, I knew that it was going to be a very dynamic and involved position, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy for the opportunity that I was given to come work in Grafton, and I very much enjoy working with the new town administrator, Evan. So.
And he's slotted to come in next.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we make sure we get all the praise out of the way for him right up front.
We'll say all the good things now when
Yeah.
he's not on camera.
Wait, see what happens when he gets on camera. Yeah.
Exactly. He'll have to earn it then.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, other than your new job, your new position, your new title? What makes you you?
What makes me me? Okay, so I'm a recent graduate of Suffolk University. I got a dual master's there, and master's in public administration and a master's in political science. I got a bachelor's of science in poli-sci from Salem State University. Geez, what makes me me? That question's always hard because people ask it, and everything about me leaves my mind.
I'm disappointed. Somebody beat me to it and asked you that question. So. It sounds like you're lined up to be a politician.
I like to think so, but I like to think I'm a little too honest for that.
Okay.
So that's why I went with municipal government, where things actually get done.
Right.
And, when I'm not at work, I like to be outdoorsy. I like to hike, ski, things like that. I'm a very avid collector of vinyl records. So,
Interesting.
things like that.
So when you were a child, were you interested in municipal government? What was your interest as a child?
My interest as a child has always been government. I was actually looking through the box of stuff my parents kept from when I was a wee young lad. And the first book I had was, So You Want to Be the President? Which I thought was interesting. I no longer want to be the president, but government has always been where I've wanted to be. I was a big fan of the show Parks and Rec, so.
I would have thought you would have said the West Wing, but I'll take Parks and Rec. So you were also formally involved in DMLA.
Correct. I was very heavily involved in DMLA. I was actually the state president of the organization from 2015 to 2016. So I ran the show for Massachusetts.
So running the show entailed?
So I picked a team of people to work under me. I had 7 officers, 4 of which I chose, 3 of which were elected. And I put together a very thorough term program for the year, including events, fundraising, membership programs, all of that stuff. And as a team, it was our job to do all of the planning, the budgeting, and execute what I wanted to do.
And what age were you for this position?
I was 19 going on 20.
And the people that reported to you?
Around the same age, there was one gentleman who turned 21 during the term. That's the maximum age you can be in the organization. It's 12 to 21. The youngest gentleman was actually from Grafton, and he was, I want to say 16 at the time.
And was this a volunteer post, or was it a paid position? You actually went to an office?
It was entirely volunteer, so I joined the organization down on the Cape right when I turned 12. Got very involved, very heavily active. Joined the state team when I was 16 and just worked my way up. And we do actually have an office in Boston, so I had a desk there that I got to tell all my friends about in college, and they just thought that was cool.
Interesting. And what were some of the projects that you had your hands on?
So in terms of fun activities for the organization, we did the first statewide beach day for the organization. We do something called the Awake-a-thon, where we rent out the Westboro YMCA and have that overnight, and all the members of the organization come in and do activities. We rent Nichols College every year for a 3-day conclave seminar. In terms of charity work, we hosted a can tab drive for the Shriners Burn Hospital in Boston, and we collected, I want to say, like 300 pounds of can tabs over the course of the year, filled the back of a flatbed truck. I was very proud of that. And, just a couple of other common good things like that.
Do you find that volunteer work sets you up or helps you do your current job?
I think so. I think that organization in particular, I gained a lot of skills in, being comfortable talking off the cuff and things of that nature. And I got to meet, actually, the person who set me down the path of municipal government. At the time, he was the town administrator of Northfield, then moved to Acushnet and has bounced around to a couple of different towns. I interned with him my senior year at college, and I never would have met him if not for the organization. So it's given me a lot of benefits to put me where I am today.
And before you joined us here in Grafton, you came from?
I was the administrative assistant for the Scottish Rite Valley of Boston in Boston.
Okay. All right. And how much of Grafton have you seen so far?
I've seen a good deal, I think. Coming in from the Pike down to the municipal center, I see everything along that way. And I've taken a drive down past the Common, going into Upton. So I want to say the third or fourth week I was here, I went around with Paul Canoyer, and he showed me a whole bunch of hotspots around town.
We'll go for a ride. I'll show you where some of the potholes are. Those are the things I want to take care of.
Oh, okay. Well, you show me where they are, and then I'll tell Evan.
And then
it'll be great. It'll be great.
Yeah, Evan's taking notes off camera. I get off track as soon as I said potholes. So once you got settled into the job and you met staff, you met people in the building, what were some of the challenges you knew were just going to be tough?
Well,
other than the budget, which is always going to be tough,
What I was sort of least looking forward to actually was trying to modernize a lot of the town's communication from the government and departments outward. I was worried that some people might not, want to step into the modern age and do some of the things that I thought we needed to do. But I was dead wrong in that assumption. Luckily, everybody in town has been very gung-ho to increase communication and things like that, and nobody's given any pushback. They're all for it.
Right. But it's in our nature, don't you think, just to be against change?
I think especially when it comes to technology, that can be hard because technology changes so quickly. So, you get up to the common standard, and then 2 weeks later, something new comes out, and you got to adapt again.
Right.
But I've been very impressed. I think that everybody who works for the town is very adaptable. So I don't want to say it's been easy, but it has been straightforward.
When you're ready to go outdoors, where's the first place you head?
Just in general?
Sure. You said you like to hike? You like
I
to
do
be
like
outdoors?
to hike. Either hiking or the beach.
Okay.
Growing up on Cape Cod, the beach was sort of the go-to place.
Sure. And if you're hiking, have you done mountains, or are we just talking trail hikes, or?
Mainly trail hikes, with Quincy being right near Blue Hills. My girlfriend Katie and I have been meaning to do that trail for quite a while, but we just haven't found the time.
The last time I was at Blue Hills hiking, I was shocked at how many rocks one had to step over going up hills and then down hills. It became more torture than it was exercise, but it was fun. It was a beautiful shot of Boston in the distance once we got high enough. Well, I was going to ask you if you knew the famous people that had been members of DMLA, but you already cheated and looked at the notes.
Well, I mean, I also didn't need to. Walt Disney was a very famous DMLA. He's probably one of the most prominent. President Bill Clinton was actually a member of the organization. Yeah.
Do you know who Red Barber is?
Do I know who Red Barber is? Is he a sports announcer?
Very good.
Oh.
And Mel Blanc?
Mel Blanc, of course.
Okay,
of course.
Just because and then Frank Borman, you probably know. Frank Borman, American astronaut.
Oh.
See, you didn't read too well upside down.
No, unfortunately, I didn't catch the astronaut. If I'm not mistaken, Buzz Aldrin was a member as well.
Ah, okay. So you're well versed. So we'll come up with new questions the next time you come in and visit.
Fantastic. I love trivia.
All right. My guest has been William Blake. He's the new management analyst and communications director here in the town of Grafton. Thank you for coming in.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Anytime. And coming up next is Evan Broussard, the town administrator. And we're back. And with me is the new town administrator, Evan Broussard. And welcome to the studio.
No, thank you for having me.
It's not your first time, though. You've been here before.
Right. One other time before, actually twice. We did a tour, too.
Yeah. Have you seen the finished products of the Show Us Your Mask videos?
I have, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, well, it came out great.
Yeah, I think we're up to close to a dozen people that have come forward.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So-
Great participation.
Yeah, yeah. It's been a lot of fun to see the different masks and which masks disappear in front of the green screen and which ones don't. But it's been fun. Looking forward to get more people in here. And so,
Absolutely.
how many weeks has it been now? You're on board? 3 weeks?
I'm on week 5.
Okay.
So
All right.
just really still figuring out everything, where everybody is and what everyone's name is and things like that.
Right, right. But you have a little bit of an advantage over William, where you're coming in as a town manager or a town administrator into this role, so you have a pretty good working knowledge of what's going to be on your plate on a day-to-day basis. And has anything really kind of thrown you for a loop?
No, not really. I mean, local government is the same kind of everywhere, with nuances. So every town in Massachusetts, that same basic form of government, the same kind of antiquated setups for bylaws and all of those things that we haven't really adapted. But beyond that, that's you go past that, that's when you start getting into the nuance of this is Grafton specific or this is that's Grafton specific. So one of the interesting things here is that we've got Mass General laws, then bylaws, then the charter. And so coming from my previous post, we did not have a charter, so it's just one more layer of government that I have to make sure that we're checking before we take whatever action we're looking to do.
So why would a town choose to have a charter versus not having a charter? Are there advantages to one type of government over the other, or? Yeah,
the nice thing about a charter is it spells out certain roles or certain location-specific things that you might want to have happen. So whether that's the role of the town administrator is very clearly spelled out in the charter, whereas in a town without a charter, it's what MGL allows and what the job description says, and that's it. So when you want to set up, so for like a town administrator, you want them to be able to run the budget. Well, you need to spell that out, because otherwise the MGL nor the job description are going to give them the authority to actually execute that process. So things like that are kind of important, and I think that's why you'd want to go towards a charter.
So it defines your role and your powers and makes it pretty cut and dried. There's no guesswork involved.
Well, it's government, so there's always guesswork.
Well,
we like to talk in really arbitrary ways,
sure,
so that you can interpret things as much as possible. But I think it does a better job of that. And then the charter does other things too, all the way from town meeting on down, but things that you'd want to be really specific to how you want things to play out in Grafton.
So you came to us from the town of Munson, the booming metropolis.
That's right.
And did you have interest in government way back, or did you develop it as time passed?
I still don't know if I have an interest in government. No, so I was.
He's just kidding.
I'm just kidding. Yes, I have a strong interest in government. No, I didn't have any interest in government until I got to college, and I was going to school for civil engineering, and really was not enjoying myself. And I actually have a friend who's a nuclear engineer in the Navy, and he had said, "Look, the coursework you're taking now is the basis for everything you're going to do. So if you hate it now, just wait. You're really going to hate it later." And so, we were talking one night about what to do, and he said, "Why don't you just take the course catalog and pick your top five courses you'd like to take, and see what major those fit into." So that's what I did, and I wound up as a political science major at UMass Amherst, and went through that process, and then was working in the nonprofit world, and Master's in Public Administration is also useful for nonprofit management. So I went into the MPA program in Anna Maria, and then came out and then just kind of stumbled my way into a career in government.
When you're having a conversation with someone and they find out that you studied political science, do you find that they dump all of their crazy political beliefs on you because he wants to hear all this?
Yeah, absolutely. they do that, and the first question is, so you want to be president?
Oh, really?
Yep, I get it all the time, and no, I do not. And then second is, well, did you see what so-and-so did? And I like to just pretend I don't know what they're talking about.
So you study political science. What do you think political science is?
So it's a behavioral science, and it's why certain things happen in the political sphere. That's really what it comes down to.
Interesting, a behavioral science.
Yes. So when you're at UMass Amherst and you go into political science, it's part of the School of Behavioral Sciences. And we spend a lot of time studying psychology, theory, history, and that's really all the study of people and why they acted or chose to act the way that they did.
Fascinating. So when you were in and did your introduction to the citizens of Grafton, you mentioned that you did some work on the Big Dig, and that probably tied into the part you talked about civil engineering. What was that experience like?
That was an interesting time. So I did a lot of work in the tunnels. I was working for a non-destructive testing company that was out of Auburn, Mass. At the time, and so we would go there and we would do X-rays or what's called penetrant, which is you spray a dye and see if the material is porous. Magnetic imaging, so you basically take a weld and put magnetic dust all over it and then magnetize both sides. And then we did some other, non-destructive testing. So it was very interesting. I saw a lot of unique things. Got over my claustrophobia and a fear of lifts and heights pretty quickly because we spent a lot of time up in the ceilings of the tunnels, and you have to use a lift to get up there, and then you were in a space that was about half as high as we are. So you have to really get used to being in those dark, kind of confined spaces.
Okay, well, I'm glad you described that because my first reaction was it's a tunnel. How much, but you were clearly a little beyond the tunnel phase.
Yes, but it was pretty neat. I mean, the scale of equipment and people working down there and all the different moving parts, it was very interesting. It was a good experience to go through, and I guess in a way it set me up for public procurement because I had seen that large scale procurement going on.
Interesting. So you're a woodworker. You have interest in woodworking.
I do, yeah.
What do you like to work on?
Primarily, I like to do furniture. That's kind of my. I like furniture a lot. I like that it has beauty and form, and most of all, function. You can give somebody a end table that you make that sits in their coffee table for in their living room for 50 years, and they'll always remember you by that. I really like that. I like how you can make a piece of furniture that then gets beat up by your kids, or people spill stuff on it, and it gains a life of its own throughout its entire useful span. So I like doing furniture. I like making smaller things as well, like boxes for people for Christmas and stuff like that. If I'm going to give my daughter something special, I'll make them a wooden box to put the present in and then give that to them. So
nice.
Yeah.
So when you're making furniture, do you make different pieces? Do you work in a certain kind of genre, or are you making things that look a little antique-y? Are you working more modern?
Kind of anything that catches my eye that I then want to go and figure out how it's made. So I will. I'll do anything from, say, the green and green style to the shaker style, all the way up to something a little bit more modern. There's some really nice looking modern pieces that have a floating top look to them. I really find that interesting. And I really enjoy the different species of wood and what they bring to a project, whether that's warmth or stability or whatever it is you're looking for. I find that to be pretty interesting that all grows in nature, and that's so much variation that exists.
Are you working in the basement, or do you have a shop outside?
Oh no, I'm in the basement.
Yeah.
We have a newer home that we moved into, and I have my own workshop space in there that's segregated from the basement with a door and all of that. So, so yeah, it's a great hobby. I really like being able to start with a pile of rough cut lumber and then come out with
turn it into something.
Turn it
Right.
into something. Yeah,
Right.
that's really neat.
I chatted recently with Beth Galloway, and she mentioned how thrilled she was that you were a reader. And what have you read lately? Anything?
Right now, I'm reading a
Town,
biography.
town charter.
Yes, well, I read a lot of that kind of stuff. But for fun, I'm reading a biography on Truman right now, and that's fascinating. I didn't realize how much time he had spent in World War I and his service there, and all of that. You know, most of your Harry Truman kind of history comes right after Roosevelt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, no one really dives into that. So that's pretty good. I've also been reading the Detective Harry Bosch series. There's 20-something books on that, and I really I like detective chronicles and things like that. So if I'm not reading nonfiction, that's kind of what I'm doing.
Interesting. And you raise chickens.
I do. I have 9 hens right now, down from 10. We had 10 last April. We only lost 1 from the original hatch that we had.
Natural causes or invaders?
Probably invaders. I don't know. It's just not there now. So I would suspect it was either a bear, a coyote, or a fox that took it and took it away. So I live in...
All right, hold on. So a bear may have stolen a chicken. Where are your chickens?
They are next to my house in a coop.
Okay.
There's about 15 feet between the side of my garage and the pen for the chickens. So I built them a coop. It's a pretty good size coop. It's about 6 by 8, and nesting boxes for 6 birds. And then I have an outdoor space, but I also free range them most of the time. So I live on 12 acres, so they have plenty of space to go. Although they seem to make a beeline right for the neighbor's house right away and spend all their day in their flower beds and stuff.
Yeah, I think all chickens have a mind of their own.
Oh, they're both incredibly intelligent in some ways, and then also, you know, they're still just chickens. So I really enjoy my kids' interactions with the birds, but also, you know, they have that innate function where they know when it's getting dark, they go in, they roost. I mean, they have all these specified routines that it's pretty interesting. Plus, we get 9 eggs a day, so that's pretty neat too.
Yeah, that's definitely the upside.
Yeah.
So have you been able to get out of the office and walk around and introduce yourself, or are you simply relying on the passing of traffic in the hallway?
So I've done a little bit of both. So I've been able to meet, I've met all the staff, but I've been able to meet residents in the hallway. Very limited right now because even though the building is open, I think people are more comfortable just, dropping things in the box, and that's perfectly reasonable. I have spent some time out and about. What I've been doing is taking a list of different addresses that come up in my meetings, and then Friday afternoons I'll grab Will, and he and I will take a ride out and try to hit all of those different spots and kind of get a feel for where things are. And I'm a very visual person, so if I've seen it and you're talking about it, I can help you navigate whatever the question is or the issue. But I work much better if I can picture that in my head and come up with a solution. And I do that for, a resident might call and say, I'm having a problem with a storm drain. I'll jump in my car before I go home and take a ride by that and see it so that when I have a call or question, I know what it looks like and I've seen it.
Sure. Nice. All right, well, I want to thank you for coming in.
Yeah.
Appreciate the chat.
Thanks for having me.
My guest today has been, excuse me, Evan Broussard. He's the new town administrator here in Grafton. And I want to thank you all for watching. On behalf of everyone here at Grafton Community Television, enjoy your day.